Hi, friends. Welcome back to Cosmic Besties. This is your go-to space for deep, soulful conversations that really feel like hanging out with your best girlfriends, or at least that's what we're trying to create here. So, whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the mystical, we are here for you. But before we dive into this next episode, which is all about past lives, I think we want to check in and just see what your experiences were after our last episode. Christy gave you some homework.
Yeah, we decided that we were going to program our own signs and also program a sign for this podcast. So I'm just curious to see how that went with you guys, if you saw the golden butterfly with the 555, and if you also received your own personal sign. It's kind of fun to be able to code things in and test the universe a little bit. And I think the more you do that, the easier and easier it's going to get.
Yeah. So if you feel called to, feel free to drop a comment in the section for the last episode and let us know what your sign was or what your experience was. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. I did have one person reach out and she said that she was kind of not a believer. Like I think that she's already on the spiritual side, but she was like not fully in on the coding part. She was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. But she decided that her sign that she was going to give for herself was going to be a green bird. That's what she saw like in her third eye during the meditation. Well, she said the next day when she woke up, she opened Facebook, and the very first thing that she saw was this news article about a green parrot. So
That
there was her sign.
I love that so much. I, despite being a believer, often find myself challenging the universe and my spirit guides, just checking in, saying, if this is actually legit, give me another really obvious sign. And sure enough, they will. And I,
Yeah.
I do try to push the envelope on it.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think that, it's just again, it's about like tapping into your own I don't know, like frequency of trust and learning that your soul knows a lot more than you give it credit for, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about today with the whole past lives, multiple lives, reincarnation, like what is it? Is it possible? Is it a real thing?
Yeah. At least for me, my first experience hearing about past lives, other than my inner knowing, was when I was in high school. I picked up this book called Journey of Souls. And in this book, there's a hypnotherapist who takes folks on journeys as he's doing the hypnosis to the place in between lives or to other lives. And I remember reading this book, thinking it was fascinating, but also wondering what what was true and what wasn't, as that was, pretty early on in my spiritual journey. But I loved the book, and I ended up reading the sequel, Destiny of Souls, as well. And that was my first, we'll call it conscious exploration of past lives. What about you?
I feel like I've always had like an inner knowing. I would have, dreams that would happen over and over again. That was me, but not me in this body and in this lifetime. But they were dreams that felt just way different than like your normal dreams that you would have. They just felt so real. And you would wake up and you just were like questioning, like, did that really happen? Where did I go? So I've kind of always believed that. There's always been like this inner knowing that I have inside of me that, you know, I really do believe to my core that we come here to learn different lessons, that we come here to kind of release the karma from our past. And you do that so many times, and each time you learn more and more and more. And that's how like your soul is ascending. But because of that, it makes sense to me that you would have more than one chance, more than one life. I don't think that every lesson is the same, although I do think that like you are going to repeat the lesson if you don't get it in that past life.
Yeah.
But I think that, I don't know, I've always kind of felt that we have past lives that not only do we have past lives, I believe that we are living multiple different lives and timelines, and just that whatever your soul is choosing to focus on right now, that's where your conscience is. But there's little bits of you all over. So like Kelly could be in like 1850, you could be in like 1975, and you could be in present day, which is like kind of like a mind, F or whatever. But it's just something I've always believed. And I think that these dreams that I've had have been reinforced by, psychics and Akashic Records readings and talking with you even. And so, very long story short, yes, like I think I've always had this inner knowing that we have multiple lives and multiple chances, and um, it isn't just this one shot.
Yeah, yeah. And it really wasn't until, I mean, gosh, we've been talking about this for over 20 years together now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I think some of you sharing your story with me that I was like, oh, those dreams that I had weren't
Yeah.
dreams either. They were,
Hmm.
memories or experiences in some of those other timelines.
Yeah, totally. And I think that even you can go as far as saying, like, to me, deja vu is not deja vu. It's almost like you're having like a little like blip in like the universe and like the fabric of the universe, and you're seeing this other version, or you're remembering this other timeline that your life is on or your soul's on right now. Um,
Yeah.
I think that we reincarnate not so much in like different bodies, although I think that your soul chooses your specific body and how you're going to look and your family before you come to Earth for specific reasons. Again, for either releasing karma, going towards your dharma, or just learning those lessons. But I think that like there's a collection of souls that just kind of reincarnate together throughout the lives. And that's why like when you meet certain people, they just feel like home, or you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I feel like I've known you my whole life." And it's because you have. It's just different lives, different versions of you.
Yep. You've known them for many lives, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that and also kind of have had a knowing about that. I feel like what was hard for me to reconcile early on in my journey that I've now like come to terms with is like I think there are people that are part of that soul group, if we want to call it that, who sign up for, you know, like, how would I describe this? It's it's as if this is a video game. And we have designed the video game with different challenges that we have to make it through in this life in order to level up our soul.
Mhm.
And I do think that there are certain people in our soul group that sign up to play, for lack of better terms, the villain at times in
Yeah.
order to help you ascend and make the right choice. And like you said, reconcile past karma, which is it was interesting for me to think of, you know.
Yeah. It kind of like you have to kind of bend your mind a little bit. But I think that there are people, like I said, like I think you have like this soul family, this core group that's always going to kind of be with you. But then I think that before you're even born, your soul and whomever is going to come in to kind of help you either learn that lesson or release that karma, you guys both choose before you come down to earth. Um, when you're going to meet, how you're going to meet, and kind of you guys are like orchestrating this whole story just so that both of your souls can either release something or learn something new to like add on to your journey.
Yeah. I also would add on to that too. Like, I think that we give ourselves little signs or synchronicities to nod back
Mhm.
to one of our previous episodes uh, throughout our life so that we know that, like, it's like a springboard for us to remember, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
With one of my past lives, I have always had this knowing that I had like a past life in ancient Egypt. And it's this knowing, and I've often asked myself, did I just make this up? But in third grade, I was absolutely obsessed with ancient Egypt and Queen Nefertiti, and I devoured every possible thing about it. And the idea of Egypt just felt like home to me, which made no sense as a young, what are we in third grade? Eight? As an
Yeah.
8-year-old in the Midwestern part of the US. Why?
Yeah.
But
I think that your soul was remembering something. There's that. Have you read the book Many, was it Many Lives, Many Masters?
yes.
I love that book, and in it they talk about like the she's not a character, she's a real person because it's based off of a psychiatrist and his patient.
Mhm.
He was regressing her to help like release trauma from her life or to find what was causing her to have like these severe panic attacks. And what happened was he regressed her all the way back to a past life. And she had had an experience similar to yours where she went to a museum with like her boyfriend. And it was like an Egyptian, I guess, portion of it. And she was like correcting the guide. She was like, oh, no, 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 like you got your facts wrong. And she had no idea how she knew that. But it was like her soul had this inner knowing, this like remembering. And I think that that's what you experienced when in third grade, you were like soaking up all of this Egyptian history. You were like, your soul somehow was like, this feels good to me because I remember, I remember.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting, with our children,
Hmm.
things that they remember. I do think that we don't absolutely forget about these past lives when we're born. I actually think that we remember them until society sort of makes us forget, if that makes sense. It's almost as if the societal norms and, obviously who raises you and how you're raised has an impact too, but I think we forget over time. And so my kids have definitely made comments about things and it's just mind-blowing, like you said.
Yeah, I think that almost it happens on purpose. I think that we're almost meant to not remember everything, like maybe little pieces to help you along your way. But if you remembered everything, then like what would be the point of living this life? Like
Right.
this life is a new lesson and a new experience that your soul is meant to go through. So to me, it makes sense that like when you're born, things are still fresh and you still know and you still remember, but that naturally along the way, you're going to forget that so that your soul almost is like forced to go back and do like a re-remembering or like a re-homecoming. And then also be adding on all of these different experiences and lessons that you're learning in this current life. Like that's like to me, that's the point of coming back. Although sometimes I wonder if like there are certain souls that just come back because they love being alive and they love like experiencing life. Like I think I almost wonder if there are like layers or like levels where there are like souls that come back to learn. There are
Yeah.
souls that come back to maybe ignite change in like the world or other people. And then maybe there are souls that come back just purely because they love being here and they love experiencing life.
Yeah. What for you is one of your most memorable past lives or one of the ones you were most fascinated by?
Oh, well, I kind of want to talk about the one where we're in together because
Okay,
I
let's
think
do it.
that's like a really cool story because Kelly and I both had like a very similar recurring dream. And I think maybe I was telling you about my dream and you were like, that's insane because I think I've had this dream. And then you dreamed about it again or something and like it kind of confirmed that. Am I right about that?
Yeah, yeah. It was wild, absolutely wild.
Yeah. So I've had this reoccurring dream ever since I was younger that like it was during like the pioneer days, the settlers. And I was a little girl and it was very specific. And that's the thing about these like past life dreams or almost like maybe even you're like leaving your body when you sleep and going to this other timeline. But that could be a whole nother, podcast episode with astral travel. But um in my dream, I was a little girl and I think I had three older brothers and an older sister. And we're playing hide and seek outside in this field. Like there's my house, which is like a cabin, and behind the house are deep, deep woods. And then we must have been farmers because we had this big field of wheat. And I remember like I would go and I would play hide and seek, and my siblings would try and find me. And it just was like a really happy life. Like I just felt so loved and I loved my family so much. But in this dream, like I would sneak away to the woods, and my brothers would always say, "Don't go in the woods." Like nothing good happens in the woods. Like for whatever, they must have known something that I didn't know, and they were trying to protect me. But I was very curious. And this one time I went in, and there was another little girl in there who had been like watching us. And I always wake up, and that's it. But I felt like my inner knowing was this little girl was you. So
Yeah,
you want to share then what your dream was or
yeah.
what your inner knowing is?
So I have had an inner knowing that at some point I had an incarnation as a Native American and I was female and I have had lots of dreams over the years where I've actually now, as time has gone on, I've seen this life at different ages and I have done a past life regression to take me back a little bit too. But I remember when Christy and I were first meeting, I felt like I knew her. And then I had a dream. And in the dream, we weren't little girls. We were, I want to say, I called us women, but that's a loose term. I honestly think we were probably like teens at the time. And so it was like I knew it was Christy's energy, but we were different. Like we didn't look like we look right now. And I was Native American. I also remember in that life that I had a wolf that was essentially like my pet, and I did a lot of healing work. So, similar to this life, I would often be in the forest looking for, ingredients, gathering things to make different, I don't even, I want to say
You're like
potions, but
like
that doesn't sound
like an
right.
herbalist,
Yeah,
right?
like an
Like, yeah.
herbalist,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, and so I think I had been learning from like a grandmother of some sort who was like a medicine woman of the tribe. I don't know if I'm using the correct terminology.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember playing with another girl and like hanging out with this other girl and my tribe telling me to be wary of
Mhm.
the light-skinned people.
Yeah.
So,
So my inner knowing was that when I heard you tell me this and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is matching up with these dreams that I've always had, is to me it felt like we became like secret friends. Like when I saw you in the woods that day and recognized that like you were also my age, we somehow like our souls connected and we became friends. But it was almost like in secret. Like I couldn't tell my brothers, I couldn't tell my family. But we formed this like deep friendship. And I think that you taught me things, but um I definitely believe that we had that life together. And I think we've had other lives together as well. But that one I just thought was so cool that we had very similar dreams that kind of matched what we were seeing in our dreams.
yeah, yeah. It was,
Yeah.
again, so wild. I don't know how to describe the experience or the journey of discovering that, but I'd encourage anyone, watching this today to think about some of the recurring dreams that you've had and if if there's clues to people in your life now who you might have been in those lives with, that could be fun to explore.
Yeah. I do something called like a soul session with my clients where I put them into like a deep meditation and in it then we go to like their Akashic records together and the point is to find the past life where there's like a block in this life. So if there's like a fear they're going through or if something is just feels like it's not moving as like swiftly or easily as it should, we'll go into that past life and we'll figure out what it was that they need to release or accept or forgive from that past life. And you can see like afterwards when I like bring them out of the meditation, like their whole demeanor is changed. So I think that's another thing. Like if you are interested in past lives, like just kind of like quieting your mind and bringing yourself into a meditation and trying to just see like what comes up. Like have like zero expectations. Just kind of allow the images to come and then afterwards like make sure you write it all down because I'd be interested to hear from people if they start to find like either patterns or if they start to like the more they do it like recognize people in their lives now that were maybe in their lives before. I don't know, it'd be really cool to hear from people who watch this if they experience anything like that.
Yeah. Speaking of Akashic records and tying that in here to past lives, I had an Akashic records reading with a practitioner who I had never met before. So I had booked this, a few months in advance, and I was actually talking to Christy about how I was excited and I had no idea what it was going to be like. And she was like, "Oh, you're going to love it. It'll be great." I had, um, again, I like to test the universe. So The night before, I was kind of meditating and connecting with my guides. And I said, guides, if my knowing, this inner knowing that I've had, if it's real, I need some validation. So bring up the three past lives I think that I have had based on my inner knowing. And that was the one in ancient Egypt, the one in as a Native American that we just talked about. And the third one was kind of at the time of like Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. And so that was my ask of the universe and my guide. So if my inner knowing was legit and if the Akashic Records thing was legit, like that was how I would know. So the next day, I have the session and the woman who's the reader joins and she's like, "Okay, I don't normally dive into past lives before I do anything else, but your guides are telling me I have to talk about your past lives. They won't stop." And she then proceeded forward to tell me about those three lives, which was
Yeah.
absolutely fascinating.
It's so wild. I remember when you told me that and I had like full like goosebumps. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy," because you even like you totally were testing the universe and you were like, "Okay, like guides, like if this is legit, if like this really happened to me, allow it to come into my Akashic records tomorrow." And like you said like she opened with it. Like that is so unexplainable that to me it's like confirmation that you absolutely had these past lives and that not only
Yeah.
that but past lives is like a true thing that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I had any skepticism about it prior to that call, it's absolutely gone at this point. And
Yeah.
I was just in awe of just how much detail um she was like able to validate about my lives.
Mhm.
It was really, really incredible. And I think everyone should tap into the Akashic Records and do some exploration. Like you said, I think it's a great way to remove blocks and help just with your overall ascension.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe we could even give like some homework to people where before they go to bed at night, maybe just set an intention with yourself and with your guides or God, whoever you believe in, that you're going to dream about the past life that has, I don't know, some symbol that you need to experience um or maybe just make it personal to you. It doesn't have to be like a symbol or anything, or it could just be like, I want to go back to my happiest past life.
Yeah.
Something like that. Whatever you want. Like it can be your own design, but set the intention before you're falling asleep that you are going to be dreaming about your past life. And then let us know.
And have a notebook and a pen next to your bed. And as soon as you wake up, document as much as you possibly can about your dreams.
Yeah, good point. And then Kelly and I also thought that it might be fun, and you guys can let us know if you think that this would also be fun. Is maybe next episode we can go into Kelly's Akashic Records and maybe pull up a past life, or and then maybe even do a meditation so that you guys can go into your own Akashic Records and maybe you'll experience a past life. So that might be kind of fun. Let us know if you also would like to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything else you want to add on about past lives today?
No, I hope we've kind of opened your eyes a little bit, or maybe at least like got you thinking about some things that I know it's hard to like wrap your mind around, but I just have such this strong inner knowing, like to my core, that this isn't, not only is this not your only life, but that you're living lots of different lives on lots of different timelines right now. So I think that just becoming more aware of that and kind of connecting to your soul in that way, it can help you in this life. Like to like Kelly said, like you're collecting those little gems along the way. So, talk to your higher self, talk to your guides, talk to your soul team. And also when you meet people and they feel like home, maybe make like a little mental note about it. And I don't know. I would put money on it that you had a past life with them.
I love that.
Yeah.
And if you want to do some more reading about past lives, those books
Mhm.
we mentioned earlier were Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton. And then Christy also mentioned Many Lives, Many Masters. I don't remember who the author was.
I think the last name is like Weiss, like Weiss, maybe. I don't know why I want to say that, but I want to say it's like Weiss or Weiss.
You can probably just Google Many Lives,
Yeah.
Many Masters, and I doubt
Yeah,
there'd be multiple books on that.
I
That
could be
title.
making that up, but I want to say it's like that's his last name, but or Wheel maybe. I This is gonna drive me crazy, but yeah, just Google the name. It will come right up. And if you want to, I'm like somebody who like those nonfiction books or books like that, I do much better on audio. And I know Many Lives and Many Masters is on Audible for free, so
Nice.
might as well do it. And it was like 2 hours or something. It's really short.
And if you want to hear more about some of my past life stuff, you can follow me on TikTok at Kelly Postor Coaching or Instagram. And if you want to learn more about Christy,
Oh yeah. If you want to do like your own soul session and kind of meet yourself in a past life or uncover those inner truths and blocks, then you can find me on my website, which is christianarose.com, or you can just go to TikTok and send me a DM. It's Christiana Rose Does Readings, and I'll put that in our little like description below too. But yeah, this has been fun. I hope you guys learned something new. And if not, if this is something you already believed, I hope that we gave you some confirmation in your heart too.
thanks for joining, everyone. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.